Hey everybody, how's it going? Dieter Kurtenbach here at Chase Center. The Warriors preseason is over. Let's talk about this win over the Lakers. It's mostly the G League team. And what we really learned this entire preseason. Warriors win this game 124-103. Again, don't put too much stock into it. Just like the Warriors didn't put out their A team on Wednesday in Los Angeles, and the Lakers just absolutely whooped them. Same thing in reverse here tonight. Every home crowd goes home happy. First thing we learned out of this game, Stephen Curry and D'Angelo Russell are going to be staggered this year. And they were both really good in their respective roles. And I liked a little bit of what I saw with them on the floor together. But it has been glaring, and this is something that we have learned this preseason. The Warriors are essentially just going to be like a fancy version of the Houston Rockets. Now, not with all the dysfunction and craziness and James Harden-ness of it all, but in the sense of they're going to have Stephen Curry on the court with D'Angelo Russell, but really those guys are going to cook separate from each other. And it will be really interesting to see what the lineups are around both of those guys as the season progresses. They even did some tinkering tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. 32 points in 32 minutes for Stephen Curry tonight. He is very good. 41 points per 36 minutes this preseason. Here's the thing, though. He's going to have to keep that up in the regular season if the Warriors are going to make the playoffs. D'Angelo Russell, really poor defense, got into foul trouble early, but he had a pretty nice shooting night, 29 points in 28 minutes. Yeah, you'll take that. Both of those guys are going to have to be exceptional because, frankly, you look at the rest of the Warriors roster, there's just not a lot of playmaking ability, not a lot of even spot-up shooting. The most important thing in the NBA today is shooting. And if Curry and or Russell have a bad night, the Warriors are going to be in big trouble this year because Jordan Poole, as much as he's willing to let it fly, he is not a guy you can rely on to put the ball through the basket 40% of the time from beyond the arc, and anyone else on this roster, frankly, you don't want them shooting all that much. So shooting is going to be a worry for this team, but so long as Curry and Russell play at their A game, the Warriors are going to have a pretty good shot. This is how every other team in the NBA has played for a long time. We've just gotten used to really, really good basketball over the last few years. Second thing we learned from this game and this preseason, Draymond Green ramped up his intensity for this when he got a tech in the game. You could see him trying on defense, a bunch of behind-the-back passes. Draymond is going to have to ramp up his game to another level this season for the Warriors to contend for a playoff spot. And frankly, I'm a little bit concerned if he has the ability to do what we have seen before, right? Everyone says, oh, well, he needs to be the Defensive Player of the Year this year if the Warriors are going to have a shot. I don't know if he can be the Defensive Player of the Year with this defense around him. Mentioned earlier that Russell's defense is suspect. Let's leave it at suspect. We know that Stephen Curry is going to give good energy, but he's not an ace defender. He's a plus guy on a good day. Most of the time, he's net zero. The rest of these guys, it's really rough. I like Eric Paschall. He's not a perimeter defender. The Warriors just do not have one perimeter defender on the wing. They have guys who can be serviceable, guys who aren't egregious, but in terms of a plus dude who can shut someone down on the perimeter, they don't have one. And the second most important thing in the NBA today, perhaps even equal to shooting, perimeter defense. Warriors don't have it. It's going to be a concern. Draymond Green cannot be in 5 places at one time, and I saw a little bit of the frustration with this young team, with this team that just really doesn't know the defensive system yet, can't really run the defensive system to its full abilities, whatever it does know, because of the lack of centers, and maybe doesn't even have the ability to run a defensive system at a high level in the NBA. He was getting a little bit frustrated with some of the guys out there. I would not be shocked if that continues in the regular season. The Warriors, again, I don't know if they're going to be able to shoot it all that well outside of Curry and D'Angelo Russell, and the defense is going to be suspect, but other than that, everything's okay. Third thing from this game, well, before the game, Warriors announced that they were going to waive Alfonso McKinney on Saturday. They gave him the heads up. That's just a common courtesy. He was a really good locker room guy and a decent person. They wanted to give him just a couple more hours to maybe find a landing spot before a lot of guys get cut in the NBA over the next couple of hours, couple of days, couple of hours. You know how it goes. They needed to do that because Marquise Chris absolutely earned himself a roster spot, and the center position was super weak for the Warriors this preseason. Willie Cauley-Stein is out for the entire month of October. We don't know when he'll come back, presumably in December, but you never know. He's got a foot-ankle thing. Kevon Looney is probable. They think they're going to get him back for the regular season opener, but he is a guy who has only played limited minutes in his NBA career, and now they're going to be asking him to play full-time starters minutes, take on a bigger role, not just on defense, but on offense. That is a dangerous situation. They needed somebody who was competent. If nothing else, we learned that Marquise Chris, of all people, the guy they signed off the street is competent. He can pass the ball, he can do the pick and roll stuff, he runs the floor really well, he can get into some passing lanes every now and again. He's not a rim protector or anything, but he's a good basketball player and a really nice upside project for the Warriors. They had to keep him, not just because of what he showed in the preseason, but because they only had one center other than him, and it's Amari Spellman, and Amari Spellman doesn't look anything like a center. So you're just playing Draymond Green at the 5. It wasn't going to work out. They needed another center. They got him. What they did do is get rid of Alfonso McKinney. Now, that is a justifiable move because McKinney has gotten progressively worse since about the middle of last season, and it got really kind of depressing at a certain juncture, and he did nothing this preseason, whether it was against NBA talent or G League talent, to basically tell the Warriors that he deserved to stay on this team. So while the Warriors were not really that keen on getting rid of a wing, they had to do it. He was the guy. He was the odd man out. He just didn't play his way into a job. Maybe he can get his game back for another team. But the concern is the Warriors, as I mentioned earlier, they don't have any perimeter defense from the wing position. Now they're down a wing. So we're going to have to see what a guy like Alec Burks, who did not play in the preseason, can bring to this team. We're going to have to see if Glenn Robinson can carry forward a positive preseason performance. Is that just because he was playing against G Leaguers, or is that something we can expect in the regular season? I don't know what Jacob Evans is. Maybe we find out here pretty soon. But the Warriors, this roster is in a really weird position. Remember last year in the NBA Finals, NBA playoffs, how the Warriors had to play Quinn Cook as a wing just so that he could knock down a shot? Okay, it might be like that all year, except they're going to have dudes who actually have wing bodies playing those roles. I am befuddled as to how this team is going to get into the 50-win category. That said, Stephen Curry can kind of overcome all things. I think his shoes say that. Maybe he has a supernova MVP season in him, and that can cover up a lot of flaws for this team. But if you were on the fence about these Warriors going into the preseason, I'd have to say that you're probably on the underside, let's put it that way, at the end of this preseason. A lot of concerns heading into Thursday night's home opener here at Chase Center. They're playing the Clippers. Who the hell knows who's going to play for the Clippers, but the Clippers are the title favorite because they have shooting and perimeter defense in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Remember him? He kind of kicked the Warriors' butts in the NBA Finals with the Toronto Raptors. They're going to play this game here. I don't know what the rotations are going to be like. We'll have plenty to talk about between now and the start of the season. But boy, a fascinating preseason. That's not something we've been able to say for the last 4 years. This one was super fascinating and maybe brought about more questions than it did answers. But we'll see. Stephen Curry is still extremely good, and these Warriors still have that championship pedigree. Maybe that's enough to push them forward. But man, it's going to be a fascinating regular season. Can't wait to get to it. Can't wait to talk to you guys after every single Warriors game. From Chase Center, I'm Dieter. We'll talk soon.